What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. And thank you to everyone that joined in on that 4-hour marathon of a debate on Tuesday. That was a lot of fun. It was very short notice, but big thanks to Black Angus for putting that together. It was a good debate. It was respectful, and it was a lot of good topics to cover and a lot of good content there. So appreciate all the viewers. If anybody missed it, I'll be posting it on my channel here in the near future as well. So it'll be available here as well. So before we jump into the topics, let's see who's in the chat so far. We got our friend Frederick Gumont. Welcome. Got Forest Pub. What's going on, Richard? Got Flady. Yeah, I'm usually a little bit late. That's pretty normal for me. Got Katie. Just got off her shift. Awesome. Thanks for being here. And we have Mr. Michael Ferrero. How's it going, man? Ale smut, tasteful smut. All right, there you go. Nice. All right. So, main topic I wanted to talk about was, well, smut. Um, but first, let's talk about how I came to the realization today that I'm gatekeeping. Can you believe it? So let's find out how I'm a gatekeeper of indie comics. Apparently I have a ton of power. It's quite impressed with myself to have enough power to prevent people from creating in indie comics. uh, I can't help but laugh every single time that somebody says people are being gate kept in indie comics. It's so absurd. All right, so go to my profile here and see my tweet from earlier today that pissed somebody off. Let's see, there we go. So this was in response to actually my tweet from Tuesday, just announcing the debate, and one of the viewers was not happy with me. See, move, move. It's so hard to share stuff on StreamYards now compared to the past. My good friend and the amazing cover artist for the black and white mini comic, Mr. Joe Ball. How's it going, man? Thank you for being here. Let's see here. Here we go. So, no shocker. Mr. JDA came in and tried to troll and said, that Tyler both produces quality and quantity like any pro. Which of course I have to laugh because just like myself, it's very obvious that neither of them are on a pro level because well, they've never worked as a pro for the big two. And well, let's be honest, the especially the art on their books is not up to that level. And I just said, thanks for a good laugh, and you guys would make a perfect couple. Just joking around, right? And then this guy comes in and says, B.A. Turner, I clearly stated that there's no gatekeeping, and that's the beauty of indie comics. Then you try to gatekeep by mocking Tyler's work. Way to demonstrate your hypocrisy. Since when is mocking gatekeeping? Because if that's the case, man, I got news for you. Probably a good percentage of your favorite indie comic creators, your critics, right, your FNT and all that, they mock people, which means they're all gatekeepers. Hmm. And so I just asked the very obvious question of, how would that be gatekeeping, right? Mocking, criticism, etc. They're not a form of gatekeeping. They're just basic things that people do as humans. Everybody mocks something. Everybody criticizes something. Everybody's a detractor by definition of something, whether it's politicians, religions, you name it. And clearly, yeah, I was just making fun of JDA. Because yeah, if you're gonna come in and try to troll, I do like to return the favor to a certain extent. It's funny you say that because that's actually something that my character Dread Knight does in the novels. He literally lifts up a gate. Fun part. So David responds and says, "Criticism isn't per se, but mocking certainly is." Hmm. A lot of times parodies are mocking IPs, don't they? Sure, it's all fun and games, but JDA makes a lot of parody books. And some other people that we're going to discuss today, they make parody books too. There's gatekeepers everywhere. Gates everywhere. So he says, you are looking to get people to be turned off to a creator, not by publishing an honest critique of his work, but by insulting him. JDA does a good enough job turning people off. And I could make more inappropriate jokes along those lines, but I won't. Um, and again, I'm not going to review his work because it doesn't spark enough interest to be purchased. Because it's not even anywhere near a pro level. I, to me, when I look at his stuff, it doesn't even look good enough to be considered amateur. Um, so yeah, he's saying mocking is obviously the hope of getting the public to not buy his product and thus keep him out of the industry. That's up to the consumers to keep him out of the industry, right? Whether or not they are going to financially support him. That there is assuming my intentions. My intentions are just to basically slap back and poke fun. Um, that's it. Um, he said it also doesn't matter if it's JD or Tyler or both, as both are creators. You did say they both deserve each other. You would think as a writer, a writer would know how to specify a single person if they were trying to focus on that person. Dude, talk about taking that whole tweet a bit too far, like a literal joke, and getting your panties twisted in a bunch over that. But and this thread just went on, and actually, Amazing Gaming Productions, who will probably in the chat at some point, just screenshotted a bunch of tweets that JDA has made that makes that statement that David had said quite quite funny. And he goes on to take little jabs at me and basically try to make it seem like I associate with bad people and that I don't do things in good faith. And it's like, well, you know what? You doing that could potentially convince someone to not view my content, to not support my books, right? There are several ways that you can manipulate one's perceptions. And so, wouldn't that mean that you're trying to gatekeep right now, right? You're trying to, on a public forum, show people that my opinions are not valid or that I'm smug or that I'm a gatekeeper. It's hypocrisy. And that's what you see constantly on Twitter and on YouTube of folks saying, oh, they're trying to gate people by saying that the quality of a book is not good. No, they simply have standards and they have free speech and the ability to critique something. Whether or not they're being honest or not, we may not always be able to tell. But you, as a creator, have the ability to counter what they say, right? To prove that they're wrong. But yeah, I just got a laugh out of that today. Just I don't know how many times people are gonna say that indies are being gate kept. Now you could say we're being gate kept out of the mainstream to an extent. Yeah, that's true because of political agendas, because of biases, but no one can prevent an indie from creating. And almost no one has been like blacklisted or prevented from putting their projects on all of the crowdfunded sites. So everybody has that ability. And you also have to be prepared to be criticized and to handle that criticism well. And but yeah, criticism is not gatekeeping. End of story. That's it. So yeah, that was my entertainment for the day there. So another thing that's been going around Twitter a lot is the topic of smut, right? And this actually, and I won't go through all the tweets because it would take forever, but a friend to the channel, Godfo Universe, who's been on the channel, he got in a back and forth, I believe, with Tyler initially, and then some folks jumped in and tried to take jabs at him. And he was basically just saying, and this is something I've said in the past, and I wholeheartedly agree with, obviously, is that look, if you're going to go on Twitter, go on YouTube, and provide marketing advice and say, like, hey, all you got to do to be successful like me is to get a mailing list, to network, right? To do A, B, C, D, and E. But they neglect to mention that they get a high percentage of their sales because of sex appeal, because of titty books, right? Things of that nature. That's pretty dishonest because that should be part of your marketing advice, right? Sexualize your comic and you will get higher sales. And everybody will say, well, no shit. That's why so many people are doing it, especially on Kickstarter. But to act like it has no part in your success or funding either means A, maybe you're embarrassed by it. Um, B, you're ashamed by it. Or C, I mean, you just don't want to be honest. You want to come across optically as if you're innocent, right? Or that everything that you're doing is organic. But let's be honest, there's nothing organic about just tossing boobs throughout a book and saying it's creativity. No, it's one of the most basic marketing and sales tactics um, in the creative world for decades, if not centuries, right? And I agree that is dishonest to act like, oh, you're a marketing whiz. And I'm not, targeting this at a single person, but I've seen several people do this for like, oh, you got to study and emulate the top creators on Kickstarter. And it's like, yeah, but what if you're not interested in making that content? You're simply saying do that so that you can raise more funds, but that's not good advice. That's not organic marketing by any stretch of the imagination. Um, so, anyways, a bunch of people went after him, and so I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about this because he was just saying, hey, I think several of you guys are doing smut books, and all of them like, no, no, my books aren't smut. It's like, mm. And they're saying, oh, you don't know the definition of smut, and it's like, okay, well, first let's take a look at a couple example campaigns, and then let's look at the definition of smut, and let's see if A, the visuals are smut visuals, in your opinion, and B, would you consider the entire comic smut? And because I think A, a lot of people they want to have the optics of they're all about creativity, right? It has the sex appeal, the all the assets have nothing to do with the success, right? They're just true creatives. They're fantastic writers. That the stories are phenomenal, and those are just minor assets when we know it's their major assets, and quite obviously. And I do think that's a bit dishonest. So yeah, let's take a look at a couple campaigns. Pretty sure Kickstarter doesn't allow any nudity, so shouldn't be any issues. But yeah, there's going to be some gross stuff. Quite honestly, I don't like looking at it, but it's the topic. So let's take a look here. Mm, Kickstarter tab. Here we go. Uh, let's see who else is in the chat here. Also have Mikey Goetz. How's it going, man? He said he's been fighting on Twitter today too with Spider-Man fans. Well, I don't know if you'd agree with me though. Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that thread. But there's always back and forth on Twitter. That's all it is for the most part. And speak of the devil, how's it going? Amazing gaming productions. All right. So first off, let's look at some of the titles. First off, Star Whores, the sluts strike back. I think that title alone implies smuttiness. Wouldn't you say? Right? Has to do with lewdness, indecency, um, kind of inherent. I mean, come on, just look at that start of that video. Anyways, so let's take a look at this one. And the only reason I pull up this creators campaign is because they've been an agitator of the chat, and they're the most like outspoken people in regards to claiming to not do smut comics and all of that, and that, they're creative and fantastic writers and artists and all of that. But let's see. I don't know. I think that visual there, and especially that one, would be considered smutty, in my opinion, and lewd and indecent. Um, I'm pretty sure that would. I think most of these, by definition, could be considered that. Otherwise, why would there be these mysterious black bars over everything? Because if it was decent and it wasn't lewd, be able to see it, right? It's as if it would be against Kickstarter's terms of service. It's like they don't want kids to accidentally come across this page. But if it's like moral and decent, then that wouldn't be a problem. So, yeah, I'd say this campaign alone proves that they've, at least in my opinion, made one campaign that is pretty damn smutty. Yeah, it's more black bars. They're really heavy on the inks, huh? Jeez. Talk about not using sex as a strategy or tactic for marketing, right? There's none here. None. No sexualization at all happening on this campaign. None. And there's just like, how many times you're gonna show the same images, right? It's not enough to just show it, but it's like, yeah, you're jamming it down the throats, no pun intended, of potential backers. And mhm, totally unique and just pure creativity here. No way um, the average person could come up with such concepts or ideas. This isn't lewd at all, guys. This is totally decent, totally okay. Right? If this was happening in public, there'd be no issue, right? Right? Because people just wear black bars in public. Huh? So anyway, literally, how many same same picture over and over and over? Yes, just I'm there's just so much uniqueness here, and it's just so much storytelling. Could never guess what the story is about. Yeah, how do I even get back to the description? Holy crap! Um, where is the description? It's also kind of odd that they're using all images to basically market the entire book. Um, maybe it's at the very bottom. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Maybe there's a pitch, right? Because usually the pitch would kind of, or at least an elevator pitch would be at the top, so you have an idea what it's about. But if the images are enough to reflect what it's about, then, huh, that's ironic. Let's see here. maybe I missed something. I'm still not seeing pitch. Oh, this is interesting. Use of AI. Shotgun mic book covers will be first generated by AI, but then painted over. Some could perceive that as tracing by digitally by an artist. The rest of the content is hand drawn and colored. Hmm. But it does seem like artists were replaced in a way if they needed to generate the base image with AI. But hey, true creativity, right? Got to use AI. Hmm. So I don't see a pitch. Uh, Now, I could be viewing this wrong because I am not familiar with Kickstarter. Okay, so maybe I am missing this, but not seeing a pitch. So if someone goes on there and proves me wrong, by all means, I get it. Um, but hmm, that's interesting. I'll try to check a second time just to make sure I didn't miss anything here. I'm not gonna watch the trailer because yep, exactly. Mm-hmm. Maybe if you click on one of the options, let's see here. There details. Is there some story info there? Cheeky comics. Yeah, that's not another obvious hint. Or how about MPEG? Jesus, manipulated by the perverted elf. Totally not smut, guys. Now, okay, I don't know if I clarified this. First off, I don't have an issue with people making smut books. Okay, everybody has free will. It's not, doing anything illegal or whatever, right? Um, my issue is only when creators produce what can be perceived as smut books, but they won't be honest about that fact, or they won't be honest about that. That content, that type of content, is their marketing. It's the primary substance of their content, right? I do think that that is dishonest. So that's where my issue lies. And there's quite a few people that have done this. Um, you know, obviously had some back and forth with these guys, but also another creator, which we'll take a look at one of their campaigns. But again, um, and we'll look at the definition too, dictionary.com. But so okay, yeah, I don't see a pitch, but I mean, G Busters, another Star Wars. Hmm. Yeah. Let's see here. Let's see what the chat's saying about this fun content here. You gonna call out she, or is it just a hot girl? The line can be blurry sometimes. So to me, now again, even if something's 100% smut, I'm not necessarily knocking that, unless the person claims that they are not using such visuals as basically the primary content or the primary marketing tool. She does have legitimate good writing and it has actual unique visuals. It's not just lewd images constantly. And yes, it is more just like an attractive female versus right this. I mean, it's literally in the title. Like what the characters are, versus like she that is not what she is. Um, A good example would be like Matt Martin's Snowman, right? It's a really dark, gritty, and intense story. Beautiful visuals throughout, but with some um, like nudity, right? Um, just like let's say Frank Miller's Sin City, right? It's not the primary content. It's not what makes it legendary. It's the story. It's his beautiful and unique art. You could put clothing on all of the women in his books, and it still would have been just as successful. It still would have been just as good as a book. You do that, in my opinion, to these books, and I don't think they would get much funding, right? Because that is, again, that's the pitch, that's the appeal. But you don't buy all of Frank Miller's books strictly for the, 10 or less percent of visuals that might have some nudity. Hmm, nice. Got Jimmy the Lumberjack. How's it going, man? Michael Ferrara says there's a Bruce Timm book, The Big Tease. That's what my art book is going to be like. Spicy pinups, but not, yeah, corn or anything. Yep, have absolutely no issue with that. And that's what's awesome about you is you're just upfront about it, right? You want to tell your people what it's based off of, it was inspired by, and what the content is going to be like, versus saying like, "Oh no, there's nothing spicy in it," right? Or the spiciness has nothing to do with it. You're just upfront about it. So respect for that. BA after dark, nice. That's funny. Exactly. Yep, I agree. I don't know. I mean, cheesecake's obviously a bit of a modern term. Um, to me, when I hear the word cheesecake, it's going to be like, well, I mean, this obviously to an extent, but it's going to be more goofy, right? Kind of immature stuff, but um, also kind of more maybe cartoonish, where this is trying to look more realistic, right? Like, at least on the covers, that they look real. So, but personally, I'm not interested in either. No shocker. Yeah, there's a difference between having attractive women in your comics and having just pure sexualization of them throughout the entire comic, and having that be your basically sole pitch. You realize that some of the people in the chat are into, I guess, books with smut or whatnot in them. Um, and man, are you like 13? Like that's your comeback? I don't know. I just can't imagine being a grown man and writing stories where that's the sole content. Especially as like a dad. Like I, I mean maybe when you're like in your teens or 20s, but it's like I don't know. I don't need to look or write about that stuff. I'd rather just, experience the glorious things of real life. I don't know. Oh, there's plenty of books that I'm sure are bad and poorly written that still sell just because of the visuals. But I would never spend money on or read any of these types of books. So um, there's no way, especially this one, that the story would be appealing to me. Doesn't matter how well written it is. The premise is just disgusting, in my opinion. Goes against my Christian and conservative values as well. So obviously, why I wouldn't want to even pick it up. Yeah, you're referring probably to Renaissance art and, you know, cultural beauty, which is much different than Star Wars. uh, so we got Renoy says Mindy Wheeler in the chat as a reminder, Mindy tried to get people to invest in a stripper app. That's what I've heard. Uh, I haven't seen the conversations, but oh, okay. Let's see here. No, I don't need to look at fake women or art depicting women in lewdness because myself and most grown men have real women in their life that act much more appropriately. So yeah, I'd rather experience, like I said, real things, not fake things. Okay, tell me what the contents of Star Wars The Sluts Strike Back is. Are you telling me the title is misleading and all the covers are misleading? I mean, I get that it's a parody of Star Wars, but what's unique and intriguing? What actual real emotions is the book going to provoke? I have never banned anybody. If one of my mods did, I'm not sure, but I have yet to ban anybody on uh, on YouTube. So pat yourself on the back. Again, I would challenge you to write a story with no lewd imagery, none, and where the content in the story has absolutely nothing to do with sex. Curious. I mean, seriously, let's see if it funds as much as this type of content. Or do you know that the sex appeal will sell and you don't want to sacrifice the potential profit to take a risk on a truly unique property? Be interesting to see. Ooh, starting to name call. Getting emotional. Isn't that bad? Then why are there all the black bars? A Taurus because I'm not into lewd comics. Hmm. Are legacy comics that have made American comics famous and have been the most successful in the history of comics been filled with lewdness? No. Batman did not need lewdness, nor did the Hulk or any of those legacy titles to be historic. So I don't know how I'm a tourist just because I'm not interested in that odd niche on Kickstarter. Lady Darth, yeah, very original. $33,000. More money than B has ever seen on a campaign. Well, I've only done one campaign. So that's not a surprise. And I don't try to bait people in with titty books. So I'm about original creativity, right? Making the best story possible. And well, let's see. That's what, a ninth of what Shane Davis just made on Inglorious Rex. So that's 9 times more than they've ever seen on a campaign or compared to this campaign. So you're kind of bragging to the wrong person. And also, my successes or success in life is not based off of comics. right? I do this on the side. It's a passion project. Making a profit is just a bonus. And you guys can be curious about and try to assume what I make during the day. But let's just say it probably wouldn't make you very happy, and you probably wouldn't brag at the end of the day. Yeah, go for it. Um, let's see. You and your husband get like no interaction on Twitter, and barely anybody watches you on YouTube. So it's going to be like screaming into the void. It's not going to reach anybody. And the type of people that are going to be interested in my campaigns aren't going to give a shit about what you say. So there's no impact on me. Man, just so much screeching here. Man. Well, they don't like people that are honest and that slap back. Um, anyone that's been in my chat for a while know that they've been coming in my chat, going at my chat and myself for months. And what's funny is I didn't do any personal attacks here, right? All I'm talking about is the content and asking the question, right? Would this content be considered smut to people? It, we'll get to the definition, obviously getting bogged down by the chat here, but we'll get there. What do you think Watchmen, Sin City, and all the other famous comics have done in one way or another? They evoke emotions, feelings, and they use escapism to excite the reader. They don't use assets to try to excite the reader in another way. To me, that's just kind of cheap. Yeah, right. All of those films, it's totally the storyline and the writing, right? Totally. Are you trying to gatekeep me? Trying to get my attitude out of indie comics? How dare you? How dare you? Again, this has nothing to do with moral superiority. I was very clear at the beginning, and maybe you weren't here at the beginning, but I said I have no issue with this content. I'm very honest that just like anime, manga, it's not my cup of tea. I have no interest in it. But my issue is with people that try to deny what something is when they try to say, "Oh, yeah, we don't use, sex appeal. We don't use this type of content to get our funding." Right? It's not our core marketing strategy when it's very clear that so many people on Kickstarter use such imagery for that exact reason. It's pretty basic. I just think, in my opinion, that's dishonest. That's all. It has nothing to do with me pushing my morals on anybody else. If you enjoy that stuff, great. My issue is not with the backers or the readers, right? I'm talking about creators in the space because I've seen creators go after people on Twitter because they simply say, hey, just be honest about how you're marketing this stuff and what the tactics are that you're using in marketing. It's not as simple as get a sign up list, right? And all that stuff, the real basic concepts of marketing. So seems like you're reaching there. I never said it was beneath me. You're just putting words in my mouth. And I already got sales. Sales are not an issue for me. And again, time will tell. We'll see once I do a full comic how much it'll fund, and we'll see if you're bragging then. I'm not saying I'm going to raise more. I'm just saying we'll see. So I don't have a crystal ball though, but I'm not going to be cocky and say, "Oh yeah, it's going to do this or that." But man, I mean, you guys are acting like a 20 or $30,000 campaign is just doing gangbusters, that you're just breaking the internet. You know plenty of people that are doing much, much better without using such imagery or using very minimal amount of this type of imagery. So why aren't you making as much money as them? Hmm? You're just bragging because you assume you're in a better position than me. But I have a lot more confidence and passion when it comes to my property. And I'm not going to sacrifice my integrity or that passion to just raise more money. That's just not who I am. Right. I know. It's just some mild criticism. And I didn't even, I don't think I even accused them of anything. I'm just saying, like, hey, in my opinion, I think that this could fit the category of like smut imagery and potentially like a smut comic. That's what some other people are saying. I don't know why that would offend you so much because you're trying to defend that type of imagery, right? And using such content. So what's the issue? I mean, why not just say, yeah, I do that type of comics and I'm successful at it? Like, just own it. Unless you truly believe that that definition is not suitable, then fine. It's as simple as we just disagree. That's it. And I recall your husband, and this is Mindy, saying that I copied the gargoyles and that it was a ripoff, right? Um, and I can simply and very easily refute that. A, not a medieval backstory. It's tied to archangels and celestial beings. B, the characters look completely different. They have completely different characteristics and abilities. And I could go on and on and on. And if you read the book, you would be able to tell it's clearly not a ripoff of the gargoyles. Um, so yeah, no, I have no idea who you are. Oh, you're probably Mike. Probably. Why are you getting so mad? Why you gotta toss names around? Come on. That implies, okay, if you're saying there's worse stuff than yours, worse to me would imply indecency. Unless you're talking about quality, but I think you're talking about the how extreme the imagery is. So I take that as you're already at a level that is much worse than others. Good. Uh, uh, yeah, the Hulk is one of the most famous characters and properties. I'm sure you know that. Why are you so desperate to talk to me? Man, talking about comics in general. You said I'm a tourist. You did I don't think you specified to indie comics. So, if we're talking about the medium as a whole, no, I'm not a tourist either way, but again, just because someone's not into these types of comics, that doesn't mean they're a tourist because mainstream comics have not been that type of comics historically. Jeez, guys. It's like Larry all over again. Mhm. Yep, and I think he made over 300K on 2 as well. What's wrong with that? I mean, honestly, what's wrong with that? That doesn't negate my ability to create. It does not negate my properties. Doesn't do any of that. And a high percentage of indie creators are hobbyists. So are you saying that in a demeaning manner and basically being like demeaning towards most indie creators? Hmm, that's very elitist. I mean, I don't know. Where have I ever complained or cried about the amount of money I made on a campaign? Never have. I was actually using Shane as an example because Mindy was trying to brag about making, or you were about making 33,000. I'm simply stating that that's peanuts compared to some of the other well-known indies in the space. I'm extremely happy with how my first campaign went. Extremely, and it's set me up very well for my first comic issue currently. You will not see me complain about how a campaign has went. I'm gonna bust my ass no matter what. My comic is going to be created and it's gonna be with backers no matter how much money it funds. I'm not doing it for funding. I'm not doing it for dollar amounts. I do it because I love this story and I want to see it translated from novel form to comic form because I love the medium and I just want to see it in comic form. That's it. I'm not dictating what anybody does with their business. Where are you guys coming up with these claims? I mean, seriously. I'm talking about the perception that people are giving off by saying that, "Oh yeah, I don't do this," or "I don't use this type of content." It's just an observation that myself and others have made that we believe it's kind of dishonest versus just saying like if I were to say like, yeah, the gargoyles had absolutely no like it didn't inspire me at all. That would be a lie. The gargoyles and probably 10, 20 other properties inspired me. It could be convenient and optically look good, I guess, if I said, "Oh yeah, the gargoyles provided me no inspiration," just so I could avoid the potential criticism that it's a ripoff or whatever. But anyone that's read my books knows that it's not a ripoff at all. So it's about people's basically how they come across and what they say when it comes to the marketing of their books. That's it. Just an opinion. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah. So do a lot of people. Actually, I didn't. Um, the reason why we had an initial reaction was because you guys decided, or let's say Mike decided to take a shot at my friend Richard Ombre, tried to basically insult his campaign and the quality of his book. And I simply countered your guys' observation by pointing out the initial person involved in that back and forth wasn't that successful in crowdfunding. They had no place to brag. And then you decided to then start to take shots at me. So no, just like again what I explained with what happened with Godful Universe is it's people trying to take shots at small creators for just simply having an opinion. And what do people always do? They try to attack the amount of money they raise, about their sales, as if that's the determinant of how good their books are. Yeah, well, we have plenty of examples of high funded campaigns where the books are shit is not an indication of quality at all. So, and how immature does that sound? Oh, he started it. Uh, yep, exactly. All right, Rapport says, as an atheist, how does I'm not an atheist. Where did you come up with that? That's hilarious. Yeah, definitely not an atheist. Far from it. Yeah, yeah, ain't that funny? People saw the DMs, but yeah. Mm. Hmm, exactly. All right, before we try to get back into, well, let's see what Richard has to say here. So he's giving her a compliment. Says that her art is awesome. And see, that's the thing. I've never said the art is bad. I do think you're a talented artist. I'll give you that. Um, as I hinted at, I'm not a fan of any use of AI in any of the campaigns. But again, was never a shot at your ability to actually like to create and such. It's just about the content, themes. Let's say he says, I would say that 80% of why the sales are there is because she draws. I'm assuming he meant Pretty Women. The writing could add to it, but I don't think it would be a deal breaker if it was bad. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at just definitions, and we'll let the chat decide themselves if, like, what we viewed, for example, fits that. And actually, let me see if one other person's books comes up. Maybe not. And we can pull that up later. Yeah, probably not. Okay. All right, let's look at the definition here. All right. So obviously, it's one of those words that has multiple meanings or applications. So this one would be the pertinent one here. Indecent language or publications. Obscenity. So keyword there, indecent, right? Um, Language or right publications. So let's look at synonyms, right? So indecent. Okay. Offending against generally accepted standards, propriety or good taste, improper or vulgar. So, and also not decent, unbecoming or unseemly, inappropriate. I think that most people would say a lot of those images, right, are inappropriate. I think even Kickstarter would believe that the original images, right, without the black bars would be considered inappropriate or indecent. Hence why they make you put those over them. Right? I don't think you would be able to go out into the public and just show people that, especially right kids, because it's indecent. It's um, vulgar in the eyes of especially, let's say, Christians, for example. So let's see. Let's look at lewd, which would then be another synonym there. Erotic, naughty. Hmm. Think that's, in my opinion, a good description for quite a few of those images, wouldn't you say? Hmm, yeah. Obscene, improper, lewd, of course, nasty, profane. Mhm. So those would be the definitions. So I stand by my assessment, but again, it's just my opinion. That's it. Hmm. Yep. Well, let's see. 'Cause I don't think you can actually be respectful and have a respectful conversation. And I also don't want you doing anything uh, inappropriate or obscene on my channel because I'm responsible for my channel. I don't want to take any chance of my channel being struck or removed or anything like that. And I think the way that you guys have engaged with my chat and myself on here and on Twitter, especially you like manipulating a photo of me and making it lewd and obscene and sexual, which is extremely weird because you were trying to call people gay earlier. But Totally normal what you did, right? Yeah, I don't want to invite you on my channel. My channel is meant for, well, honest debates, but I always do those on third party um, channels. So by all means, if you want to do it on a third party channel, we can have a debate on one of theirs. All right, because I don't have any liability to those channels. That's up to them if they want to trust you to be on the channel. So, but my channel is meant to invite people to promote and invite friends, and meant for more of the positive side of comics and just having discussions. So, hmm, yep, yep. Yeah, I have no problem with Pretty Women, or even sexual images on in comics. I've even said that even if the whole thing is that, I don't have a problem with that. My problem is when some creators, and this isn't even specifying or being like aimed at them. I've seen plenty of other creators do this, where they say, "Oh, I'm so successful. Just follow what I'm doing. I'm doing mailing lists. I'm doing this. I'm doing that." But they don't mention the type of content, the type of visuals that they use, right? They neglect to mention, doing titty covers and stuff like that are a huge boost or a high percentage of why, or high percentage of their sales. I think it's misleading in my opinion, versus just being honest and be like, hey, you know what, you want to make extra money? Do these types of images, right? Make books like this. Use it for your marketing, right? Try to market to these type of people. I mean, that's it. No. No, I just have integrity and I have rules for my own channel because it's my own channel. And I'm not going to cave to people's demands or people beating their chest in my chat. So it's actually I think it's more of a poor reflection on how you act and portray yourself, acting like this. No, I'm not. I'm not shaming the content. Like I said, I'm not a fan of it. Just like I'm not a fan of manga. I'm not a fan of anime, but I know a lot of people, including artists I've used that love it. I'm not shaming them for it or shaming the content itself. I just say, hey, it's not my cup of tea. Just like movies that are filled with that stuff, not my cup of tea. Even like those panels and visuals in Sin City, not my cup of tea. But the story and the writing is so phenomenal and the art is so unique that it's an amazing comic. So I overlook that. But again, it's not the entire comic. It's not the premise of the book. It's not what drew me to read the book. And I don't think Frank would ever have marketed as like, oh, I don't ever, use that stuff, or, no, I think he'd just be honest about what Sin City is about. And it's kind of in the name as well, right? Like I said, I'm not specifically talking about you guys. But I believe I've seen you guys say that it's not smut, which that's what we're just discussing is, hey, what would people think? Like those examples would be. It was actually Stokes, the writer, creator, whatever, that was like outright saying like, I don't use that or I don't do that, and was taking jabs at Godphone. That's who I was interacting with. And there's been just back and forth between Tyler and him about like, hey, you talk about marketing and all your strategies and like the keys to success, but none of it mentions sex appeal, which clearly he uses on his books, especially the covers. So, and I don't think I even said that you guys are dishonest. I'm saying some indies that say it's not part of their marketing. If you're saying that using sex appeal and sexualization and all that stuff, right? And right, not safe for work images as part of your marketing, I'm not calling you dishonest. Now, if you say your content or none of your content is smut, I would say I disagree with that. based on the definitions that we just looked at. And it's up to people to decide if they believe you're being honest or not. So, thank you. That's not worth getting emotional or heated. Not over indie comics, especially since it's again, it's not my how I make my living or any of that. I just enjoy the topics. I enjoy the discussions around the medium because I'm really passionate about indie comics and about my comic, and I do want it to thrive. And I want creators that are really creative and trying to make phenomenal comics. I want them to thrive. So, but again, clearly this type of content's not my cup of tea. You won't see me promoting it. You won't see me talking about it outside of this discussion here because again, it's been a topic because of people going back and forth on Twitter, and I've been seeing innocent folks taking shots just because they're saying like, "Hey, I think if you're using such imagery and it seems to be the primary content, why not just be open about it and say, yeah, I use that stuff. It's part of my marketing. It plays a huge role in my success and in the funding." Because there are a lot of people that act like, oh, that has nothing to do with the funding. I'm not making money because of that. I'm making money because of the writing. And it's like, come on. That's like saying modern Batman comics make money because or get sales because of the new and unique fresh storylines. Like maybe a little bit for Absolute Batman, but right, no, it's because it's a legacy character, right? They already are on a pedestal of previous success. So it's very easy, just like if a YouTuber has hundreds of thousands of subscribers, it's very easy to compared to an indie to get sales or get recognition. That's it. Mhm. I don't see how I'm talking shit. Actually, I'm seeing more of you talking shit. In here and on Twitter. I mean, that's how we not you and I, but actually, yeah, you ended up jumping in and tag teaming with your husband, but um, that's how we first interacted because you guys were taking shots and talking shit to Richard Ombre because Elasmat was having a back and forth with him. So I didn't say it was beneath me. I just said I don't like it. And weren't you saying to get my attitude out of indie comics? That's what sounded elitist. Uh, sorry, I got to go through some of the chats because there's so much fun. Mhm. Wait, didn't that campaign we just looked up of yours was filled with that type of content, but with women? Why why would a straight person write about that and draw that? Hmm. I don't see CG people doing that. That's ironic. Still asking. No, I'm not scared of you. Can't handle a girl. Man, that sounds so cringe. No, I just don't think it would be a fruitful discussion, and I don't trust you to be respectful. So, and this isn't a circus either. So, I know you're trying to make it a circus in the chat, but no thanks. Again, if you want to have a third party that's impartial, and such as Frost, such as Black Angus, or others, for sure, we can set something up and have a debate, come up with a mutually agreed um, topic, and yeah, I have no problem with that. But that's not what my channel's for, and I've said that several times. I've been very clear about that on here and on Twitter. So How old are you? Jeez, how do you act like this? Okay, so me defending my friend is starting things with you when you were the ones taking shots, or one of you was taking a shot at him. Make it make sense. Shit starters. That's extremely ironic coming from you. Still not sure how you believe I'm trying to be morally superior here. Is that your favorite word? Uh, oh, now DMs were manipulated or faked. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Algamil says, I think Godfo is okay, but he has been complaining way too much lately. He's even tried talking to Tyler about marketing instead of crying about what is art. I don't view that as crying at all. I think he's just passionate about art and about good storytelling. That's it. Um, he's one of those people that wants to make a story that hits someone hard, right? That can make an impact on them. Um, his creativity is pure passion. Um, he's not trying to make a quick buck. That's why he's not trying to, throw sex appeal into his book where it's not applicable to his story, for example. I respect the hell out of people like that. Because again, I think it's extremely impressive when creators can be successful and get high funding with minimal to no use of such imagery. Um, he's just having more philosophical discussions and making philosophical posts on Twitter. And then some people that get offended by that hop in and start taking jabs at him. And I'm not saying Tyler has, but I know they disagree, and there was some misinterpretation of some things that went on in a stream. And so that's how they kind of went going back and forth. But he has been very clear about his stance in regards to Tyler and his marketing advice. And again, the crux of that was, you know, to Godful, when Tyler talks about marketing, it's get a mailing list, right? Funnel in backers, go to conventions. Like it's very surface level stuff, right? You know, get multiple campaigns on your belt, but there's no mention of using sex appeal, right? There's no mention of titty books and all that, right? Which again, it's very obvious that he utilizes that and that helps him with his sales. So Godfrey just takes issue with that because it's like, hey, if it's contributing to a high percent of your sales or your backers, then why not just say like, yeah, I use that and I recommend that if you're trying to make money. And I don't disagree with him. Honestly, I'm not smearing or shit talking. Actually, that's you that's been doing that. So, and again, I have said this is the third time I think. If you would like to have a proper discussion or debate, we can do it on a third party channel. That is not me running away. That's simply stating like, hey, this is this is my personal rule, and it's very. I mean, it's literally meeting you in the middle. So. One gun says, I do not think that the Wheelers are doing what the Wheelers are doing is no different than all the other stuff I see on Kickstarter. They're not doing anything wrong. Their books are for adults. That's what I agree. I don't think they're doing anything wrong with the use of their content. I have no problem with books for adults. And the discussion was around what is considered or what could be considered as smut. And I don't think they, even in this string of chat, I don't think they've made a statement saying like we admit our books are smut or we do not think they are smut. That was the question. What do people think it is? And let's look at the definition. When I was talking about some creators, when they talk about marketing, they leave out the use of smut or sexual imagery, I wasn't talking about them. Now, I understand that it could be misconstrued because we're looking at their campaign, but it's actually it's related topics, but you have to separate who I'm talking about there. But again, have no issue with what they're doing on Kickstarter or making that type of content. To be clear, I'm just not a fan of it. That's it. Yeah, you guys literally put a gay pride flag on a picture of mine and put like some other things in the picture. So that's literally manipulating a picture. So it's very weird. Um, yeah, very weird. Come on, the slums. Yeah, I don't know about that one. And right now, I'm literally running my own show. I'm not going to ditch my viewers just because you guys want to dictate that. Oh, all of a sudden, here, because I said right now, come on, the slums. Yeah, don't disagree with that. Don't disagree. All caps. You guys are really dictating things, aren't you? And what would we even be debating? That's what I'd like to know. Like, what are you wanting to know from me? Because I've been very, very clear in my stance. The only thing I am asking is, do you believe your content is smut, or do you believe it is not? And then based off of that would determine if you believe you use that for marketing. I mean, you said you use sex appeal clearly for marketing, but do you consider it smut or not? That's it. That's a very, very straight comment. Very, very straight. Okay. What am I lecturing you about? I've literally just asked you a question. Why can't you answer it? Your your content was just a topic of discussion around a word. What am I lecturing you about? Tell me. Has nothing to do with how long you've been doing this. Don't care. Oh, so mad. Oh my gosh, it feels like high school the way you guys talk. Uh, yeah, I agree. Yeah, that too. That, in my opinion, that's misleading and that's a marketing tactic. And at least be honest about it. And again, not aimed at anyone in particular. I'm just saying people see this constantly. Just like, hey, you have a phenomenal piece of cover art. It's beautiful, and then the interiors are like a tenth of as good. Yeah, that's misleading. Like people should definitely avoid doing that. Definitely avoid that. Appreciate that. And that's fine. Okay. Indecent. First off, nudity could be considered indecent, hence why it's not like allowed to just walk around naked, right, in public. Um, doesn't I mean we looked at the definition. Um, Also, a synonym was lewdness, which I think was very fitting as well. So again, yes or no, do you consider your imagery and content smut? I would say definitely right to probably a lot of Christians. their content would be offensive, right? So it could be deemed offensive by some people. So if you want to say that smut is subjective, like, okay, we could agree to an extent, but just curious if you consider it smut or not. And then it's up to, again, the chat and myself to determine individually if we agree or not. I mean, that's what the whole topic is around. That's really sad if it's not required, honestly. And that's what makes me not like Kickstarter. And I don't know what the rules are for Indigo, except I've never had to worry about that because that'll never be on any of my campaigns. But if just anyone can access the site and see that stuff, like that's unfortunate. Using your favorite word again. Uh, all right. Andrew Rowland says, if I'm going to see titties on a cover, I better see more. Imagine a Superman cover where they have Lois Lane in a sexy bikini, and then look inside the book, and Lois doesn't do anything like that, like the cover. Yeah, yeah. Your guy was taking jabs at him for no reason. I remember it quite clearly. You're obsessed with that word, man. No, I didn't say I don't use such imagery because I have integrity. I said I have integrity, or I'm not going to toss my integrity aside and use imagery just to make more money, meaning sacrifice the core purpose of my story, of my characters, and push aside my creativity just to make more money. So, what I mean is the creativity, the story, and the art as I intend it to be is more important than making extra money. That is just my view of myself. That's it. I did not say using that is beneath me. I just said I'd be doing myself a disservice and be dishonest if I did that myself because I tell people I would not do that, right? So if I did that, I'd be very dishonest, wouldn't I? Hmm. Pretty much. So demanding. You realize some of us have jobs that we have to get up early in the morning for, right? Yeah. And again, why are you in such a hurry? Like, and I said a mutually like agreed upon third party, and a mutually agreed upon topic. What's the topic? Like, even if you want me to come on there, what's the topic? Like I said, a proper debate, not just a, oh, I demand you come and talk to us. Our feelings are hurt. We need to try to embarrass you in front of a chat that is going to be likely quite biased. Like, yeah, sounds like a great idea. Like, I don't do debates to basically to stir up drama. That's not the intention. It's to have a discussion around a topic. And to be quite honest, there's a lot of drama that happens on that channel. So that's not what I'm looking to do. And I don't have all night to stream either. Yep, true. Hmm. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yep, yep. Because even one of my pieces of art in the mini comic, right, had a woman with some nice assets, but again, there's no nudity. And yeah, I'm very open that I'm a devout Christian and all that. So it wouldn't make sense for me to put that in my book. Yeah, I think it's quite loyal and respectable to stand up for your friends. I've yet to trash Smut. How many times do I have to say I don't have an issue with it? We're talking about whether or not certain types of art would qualify as that by definition, okay? And that I and others take issue with the people that disregard the fact that they use it to seem maybe optically innocent, right? Or to say that their sales are completely organic and has to do with just hard work or whatever. So you're not being honest there. And I also never called you that. And again, okay, if you're okay, this is great. If you do not believe your books do not have smut in them, why would you take issue if I were trashing smut? Think about it, right? Like if someone was trashing smut, I would take no offense to it. Why? Because I don't use it. It has like nothing to do with my content. So are you taking offense to it because you're defending it and you use it? Because that's been my question to you since you've popped in here, made demands, and been disrespectful is do you consider your books to have smut content? Yes or no? Seems like you would take the offense to someone trashing smut. Question is why if you don't use it? Well, even if he didn't put it there, he definitely shared it, posted it, pushed it around. So really doesn't make a difference to me. But he did well, okay, he definitely was in DMs with some other agitators passing around a picture that had been manipulated a few times and passed around. Yeah, because that's what straight men do. Yeah. What's going on? Oh, that's hilarious. I'm gonna try to just scroll to the bottom. There's just these comments are they're too much fun. They're too funny. Uh, how dare you take a shot at Eric July? I thought you guys mended fences with him. Come on. Mhm. Favorite word again. I never complained about them. They are in my mini comic. Uh, great. Wow, we're actually at the bottom of the chat here. That's great. No, I did not send them to him. They were posted on Twitter. He or someone else then saved them and manipulated them and passed them around. Big difference. Yeah, it's, again, very straight to download a picture of a guy and pass it around, especially when it's been manipulated. Just sounds like actually he's maybe intimidated by masculinity, or I don't know, maybe embarrassed about his own or his lack of ability to be in shape or lacking of such muscles. I don't know. But I would love to see him say such things to a bodybuilder in real person. And I'm not talking about myself, but I don't think that would go over so well. Only thing you can say over and over. That's so weak. Yeah, and the debate's gonna be so fruitful when that's all you guys do the whole time. And I don't think it's offensive, in my opinion. To others, it may be offensive. And it also depends on like the acts or things being depicted in the art, right? So again, there's more nuance to it for sure. I have never sent him any pictures in DM. That is a very weird thing to say. What you think about? No wonder you draw this stuff. Like, maybe you should be questioning your own sexuality. I don't know. Uh, it's so weird. All right, Andrew Rowland says, I'm going to redirect the heat off Turner towards me now. In my opinion, people who use smut only use it to compensate for lacking of quality story. Come at me, Mindy. Well, yeah, I think that could be applicable in some cases out there. That's for sure. No, it's such a basic answer. Like, they demand I come on a show with them. They demand I debate them immediately, but they just can't answer a simple question. Come on. Yes or no? That's it. Mhm. Yeah, I'm sure. But what got them to buy the book? And could you tell the same story, but put the characters all in clothing and take all the sexual content out of the book and keep them intrigued and get just as many backers? Like, I would love to see creators such as yourself do an experiment. Can you make a book as good as the other great indie comic creators that are known for fantastic writing? But if money is the only objective, then I doubt you'll do it. But I would love to see somebody take up that challenge. Now, on the flip side, if someone that doesn't do that all of a sudden just throws a bunch of that imagery and content into a comic, throws it on Kickstarter and promotes it with that imagery, guarantee you they would probably have a decently funded campaign. That's unfortunately just how the world works. Yep, usually they do not. Okay, so then tell me why. Okay, here's another question. Okay, we looked at your Star Wars campaign. I could not find a pitch. Okay, I I didn't see anything about the plot. I didn't see a synopsis. Anything. Was it there somewhere, or was it just like visuals, stretch goals and stuff, and meet the team and all that? Was there a pitch and info about the actual story in the Kickstarter? If not, you can't tell me that people are buying the book because of the plot or because of the story, because they don't even know it, unless you're saying like, oh, it's implied in the title, but the title is literally obscene and it's lewd and it has offensive language to many people. So she says, Andrew Rowland just goes to show you that we're not in that market, doesn't it? I post feedback all the time from people commenting on how awesome our stories are. Okay. But again, I'd like to see if you could actually do a story with none of that content and still have the same success and then be applauded as having such great stories. Okay, let's pull it up. Let's pull it up again. Let's see where it's at. You can direct me where it's at because I literally said when I was going through it, like, hey, I may miss it. Like, if someone else can find it and show me, like, I'll admit that I missed it because I was looking several times. Let's see here. Okay. And yeah, I'm not also very familiar with Kickstarter. I've only backed like 3 campaigns on there. So let's see where it's at here. See. Is it in a different tab up here? So this is campaign, story, story. Is it somewhere over here? Is it somewhere down below? Did you delete the story after the campaign ended? Um, I mean, just honest question there. Okay, there's always a pitch. Um, let's see. Still waiting. I'm gonna wait for an answer here because story. We must have just put all the pictures under the story. So, unfortunately, going to go through all these images again. Totally not lewd in any way. Naughty. Hey, wasn't that one of the synonyms that we saw? Huh. That's straight. Um, let's see. Yeah, that's the Kickstarter's story, dumbass. Where is okay? Literally, tell me, is it at the very bottom? You guys are seeing this live, so maybe there's an issue on Kickstarter. Maybe it goes away after um, the campaign ends. So I'll just okay. I'll take your word for it that there is or was a story at some point, but right now, this is all you can see. So, um, here to give you some. Oh, it's in the video. So you just did a quick elevator pitch in the video. There's not like a, I don't know, half page, breakdown of the story, information about the characters. It's just what a couple one liner or something in the video. Hmm. Well, let's take a look at another one just to see. Okay, same thing. Okay, it's in the video. That's not much of a pitch. I'm not gonna lie, if you're relying on just the video, like there's not a lot of details about the plot. Most likely, let's watch a video here. Okay, sure. Ugh. Was there AI used in the video? All right, let's see if the audio works here. Let me know if there's any issues. Page stories don't tell the plot. Does not tell anything about the story really. Let's see here. Okay, so that's just your story. It's a parody. What's the parody about? Like, is it just literally just I mean, usually a parody at least has some context behind the story. It's usually unique to an extent, right? So, are you telling me your pitch was just that one sentence at the beginning? That's how you describe the story? You just do an AI breakdown of the names? That does not totally not using the visualizations just to get people interested in the campaign. This is so cringe. Right. Spaceballs is a parody. And see, I can talk through this whole thing because there's no narration. There's not actually anything happening other than visuals. I don't know anything about the story at all. Just, it's a parody. Buy it. Boobs. Captivating. I could just feel the writing. It was just so like, man, that pitch was just mind blowing. Mind blowing. And see, Spaceballs had uniqueness to it, right? The characters were very unique, the names were very unique, and the storyline was actually different, and it was freaking hilarious. That's that's a fantastic parody. So, okay, your pitch is the visuals and one sentence in a video, but at least on those two campaigns, it was just story, nothing in the text. Like, you didn't even wanna, like, write, like, a paragraph about, "Hey, this is why it's so funny. This is why it's unique. This is why you should buy it." It's relying on the imagery. And, okay, if you're making so much money too, like, why not use real people to make your trailer? You know what I mean? Like, why not have, like, an animated trailer made? Like, why use AI? Man, that's funny. White Knight again. You are getting quite quiet after we saw the lack of story and details behind the campaign. Oh, it's this one here. Sick of saying the title. It's so lewd. Uh, oh, see, it's all of a sudden about money again. Seems like you're being cocky and bragging again. And even though you have more experience publishing comics, it doesn't mean your comics are going to be better than what I produce. It doesn't mean your team has better writing. So I like how you're diverting away from the fact that there was no description of the story in the body of the campaign. And you know what? Let's see. Because I know your other campaigns, I'm not sure exactly where they're at. Oh God, yeah, not lewd at all. Um, okay, not sure where Mike's campaigns are on here, but be interested to see like what your like. I don't know if boobs was your first campaign or if you had some before that, but again, you guys have created several campaigns, so I'm sure you're going to say, "Oh, it's all about the sum of all the campaigns." Uh huh. Again, we'll see. We'll see how much money my first campaign funds for a full comic issue. Then we can have this discussion. I'm not going to make any assumptions as to where I'm going to land funding wise, but you definitely are making some assumptions. And I was able to raise the amount of money I raised primarily around novels. I didn't even have a full comic. So likely would have funded as much or pretty close to what you guys are funding on an average basis for your books had it been a full comic issue. So that's funny. So again, I've asked you several times, and so has the chat. Do you consider your books or the content within your books to be smut? Yes or no? I don't know why it's so difficult to answer that question. Should play some just elevator music in the back as we wait for this answer. Mm. Mhm. Mm. Convenient. Mhm. So see, you're avoiding it. You're dodging me again. So that just proves that you don't want to have a fruitful debate. You want to create drama. You want to try to get some attention by fighting with someone in CG so that you can get more backers on your book. Well, that's not what I do around here. So again, if in advance you guys want to create or set up a debate on a third party channel, have an agreed upon topic. Again, I've asked you that too. What would the topic be? What's the topic that we would be debating? I'm not going to go on to just some random pissing match because you guys have an issue with me. So, two questions. See if you guys can answer it. Yes, you're avoiding the questions I asked them throughout, I don't know, for the last hour. I didn't say I'd go on right now and on a channel that you guys dictate. It'd be a mutually agreed upon channel with a mutually agreed upon topic. You've yet to tell me what that topic would be. Even if I went over to the slums right now, what would the topic be? Why can't you guys answer simple questions? I, I I'm firmly confident in your guys' intent on having a debate. Here, let's get this bit off the screen here. Yes, people have day jobs. They work. Shocker. Some of us also work out extremely early in the morning, because we have families, responsibilities. And so we have a lot of things we have to get done during the day on top of creating books. uh, See, you can't answer basic questions. Yeah, it could be on Black Angus's channel. It's very weird you guys are so obsessed with pictures of me. I don't know why they care about what any of us say. They claim to hate CG and all of that. It seems like they're in their own right world of the type of comics they produce. I don't know why they're even bothering with any of us. I don't know. Hmm. So you're calling someone a liar for saying that. Let's see here. People lying about us. You said we were Christian. Okay, so you're not Christian? Okay, good for you. Uh, I got called atheist earlier in the stream. You didn't see me get that upset about it. I just laughed about it and said, yeah, no, it's very far from the truth. No, not. Oh, maybe you're talking about CG Church. I don't know. I didn't catch all of that stuff, but Well, in my opinion, and probably based on the my interpretation of the definition of conservative, I don't believe that your content is very conservative or aligns with conservative beliefs. Definitely not traditional conservative beliefs, in my opinion. But you guys do you. Why are you so upset if someone, even if they accidentally called you Christian? Christianity and conservatism, obviously, well, true conservatism have a lot of overlap. So I don't see the hubbub around that. So yeah, the other thing too, just to let the normal viewers in the chat know that in probably, I think, 2 weeks from Monday, my novels will be available on Amazon. So I'll have a pre-order starting on next Monday. See, that would be the 2nd of June for the ebooks, and then on the 16th, the physical versions of the novels will be available to purchase. And then if you have Amazon Prime, obviously you'll have free shipping. Um, obviously, and I've been very clear about this. If I were to ever release them on Amazon, which I am now, they're not going to be the same books that the backers received. They are going to be smaller. They are not going to have the premium lamination, and obviously paper quality, cardstock, everything's going to be different on them, and there won't be the possibility of getting the mini comic on there either. You won't be able to get all the freebies and all that too. So, but for anyone that was unable to back the campaign, or they lived overseas, or right had any constraints in regards to the costs, you'll have a more affordable option and quicker option. With free shipping and all that through Amazon. So, yeah, appreciate sharing the word. And if anyone's interested, obviously I'll be posting links once it's available on here, and then throughout Twitter. So excited to get that stage of the process done. And then, hopefully any sales from that, obviously I'm going to put right into the first comic issue, just like I did for the campaign. So, yeah, that'll be nice to have that done. So that'll be coming here in just over 2 weeks. And then in regards to the first comic issue, that's going along really, really well. Over 30 pages, complete, edited probably 5 times. So should be, my guess at my timetable right now is hopefully by the end of the summer, I'll have a sign up page up and have a decent amount of pages to show folks. And then probably in, it'll either be early to mid 2026, the campaign will hopefully be launched. And again, my goal is to have the book 90 to 100% done before the campaign starts. But we'll see how things go. But that's the goal. So, but yeah, I'm so excited to show folks what the characters are going to look like now, and who the artist is, and the style of art. It's going to be a truly unique book in so many ways. So I'm very, very excited about that. So, but yeah, appreciate everyone joining. I think it was a fun discussion. Kind of predicted it would go this way in the chat. No shocker there, but was still fun to catch up with everybody. And yeah, be interested to hear people's comments. If you want to leave a comment on what your view is on what would be considered smut in visual arts in comics. I know some questions went unanswered, but I think it's quite clear what my intentions were of this stream and what my position was. So, but yeah, appreciate any feedback y'all would have, and hope you guys have a good night. And again, um, if you want to check out the debate I had with Tyler, check out Black Angus's channel, and then I'll be posting it on my channel here in a couple days. It's 4 hours, but it was a good discussion. The chat was really engaged, and it was a good time. So So yeah, thank you guys. Have a good rest of your night, and God bless.